2024. We will begin with roll call.
Thank you. I'll proceed with roll call. Chair Anderson,
Here.
Vice Chair Whalen,
Here.
Board Member Noon,
Here.
Board Member Six,
Here.
Board Member Sovereign.
Here.
We have a quorum. Thank you.
Great, and we will open up public comment for any item that is not on today's agenda.
Thank you, Chair Anderson. I'll start with in-person public comment. At this time, I have no slips for in-person public comment, and I will move on now to virtual comment. And I see no hands raised in attendance, so we will move on to written correspondence. And I did not receive any written general correspondence, so at that, I will turn it back over to you, Chair Anderson.
Thank you. We will close general public comment and move on to the approval of the minutes from the ABR meeting on April 15th, 2024. Okay, I move we accept the minutes.
Second.
Any discussion?
I wanted to commend the recording secretary on the 101 minutes. I thought they were very accurate and reflected the board's comments.
Great.
Thank you. Shall we take a vote?
Yes.
Chair Anderson,
Yes.
Vice Chair Whalen,
Yes?
Board Member Noon,
Yes.
Board Member Six,
Yes.
Board Member Sovereign.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, we will move on to the approval of the consent calendar for April 22nd.
Thank you. There were 3 items. Item A, 528 West Figueroa Street. It was here for final approval and it received final approval as submitted. Item B, 421 De La Vina Street. It was here for project design approval and final approval and it received project design approval and final approval with the following comments. The applicant to follow up with the Transportation Department to confirm the existing condition of the gate can open to the public right-of-way. And 2, the applicant to note the fence height of the front and interior fence can be as built over 4 feet high due to commercial mixed-use zone on the plans. The existing fence is to remain at its current height. And 3, the compatibility analysis criteria generally have been met. And item C, 2221 Oak Park Lane. The item was postponed indefinitely at the applicant's request.
Okay.
I'll move and accept.
Second.
Any discussion? Nope, let's take a vote.
Chair Anderson,
Yes.
Vice Chair Whalen,
Yes?
Board Member Noon,
Yes.
Board Member Six,
Yes.
Board Member Sovereign.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, then we'll move on to the consent minutes for today's meeting.
Thank you. We had 3 items again. Item A, 1224 Coast Village Circle. It was here for concept review and it was continued indefinitely with positive comments. So it will return for project design approval and final approval. Item B, 2219 Bath Street. It was here for final approval and it received final approval with the following comments. 1, the plans substantially conform with the plans that received project design approval on March 25th, 2024. 2, the new sign proposed needs to be approved in a separate permit. And 3, eliminate the additional scroll work on the fascia of the canopy. Item C, 1315 Hutash Street. It was here for final approval and it received final approval as submitted.
I make a motion for approval.
Second.
All right, let's take a vote.
Chair Anderson,
Yes.
Vice Chair Whalen,
Yes?
Board Member Noon,
Yes.
Board Member Six,
Yes.
Board Member Sovereign.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, and do we have any announcements or requests by applicants for continuances and withdrawals, future agenda items?
We will have one announcement from Ted Hamilton Roll, the project planner who is at the meeting today and will be presenting item 1. He is upstairs very quickly, so he'll be back down and he can make that announcement before he gives his presentation for item 1.
Okay, great. Any subcommittee reports? No, okay. All right, well, then we will wait a few minutes for,
Short musical interlude.
Yes.
okay, then we'll take a quick break. Go ahead and make a general announcement if you want.
General business went really fast, huh?
Yeah,
Okay, sorry.
we're efficient here.
All right. Good afternoon, board members. Sorry about the slight delay there. I did want to give a general announcement that I gave to SFDB and HLC as well. This is for all attendees of a public meeting, not just board members, but members of the public, staff, anybody who happens to be here. We want to keep our comments constructive, positive, collaborative, and remember, we're all just working toward the common goal of enhancing the city's built environment. Thanks.
Great, well then we'll open up item 1. It's a discussion item for the pre-approved accessory dwelling units. Staff presentation and discussion regarding the city's approach to the implementation of Assembly Bill 1332, which requires local agencies to develop a program for the pre-approval of ADUs. No final appealable decision, and we will discuss. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Chair Anderson. Good afternoon again. I'm Ted Hamilton Roll, Project Planner and Design Review. Here this afternoon to introduce the city's plans for implementing AB 1332, a new state law that requires local agencies to provide a process for pre-approval of accessory dwelling unit plans. The plans will be posted on the city's website for the public to use. The intent of the law is to facilitate housing production by providing an express lane for design, review, and approval of certain ADU applications. I'll be requesting input from each of the boards, and actually ABR is the final board that I've gotten feedback from. Today's presentation will be relatively brief. I'll introduce some of the parameters of the program, show some examples that other jurisdictions have already implemented, and describe the city's approach. Then we'll be requesting your feedback on design parameters for these ADUs. The state law makes permitting an ADU faster and less expensive by cutting down on consultant costs and plan review time. The law requires local agencies to create a process for the pre-approval of ADUs, and our goal is to go a step further than just creating a process by opening a call for design entries and having at least one pre-approved ADU plan on our website by the end of this year. The law only applies to detached ADUs, and the city is further limiting the parameters to ADUs that are 1 story or a maximum of 16 feet in height and between 400 and 800 square feet. This is consistent with the design parameters of what we call a special ADU, which is allowed in most parts of the city, including high fire hazard areas. 9 times out of 10, the small 1-story detached ADUs subject to this law would be ministerial, meaning they match the design style of the primary residence, or if they're at least 20 feet away and not in the front yard, they don't need to match. So in other words, these ADUs wouldn't be coming to you anyway. This program would allow applicants to select a ready-to-go ADU plan that doesn't have to match their primary residence, even if it's within 20 feet or if it's in the front yard. The goal is to end up with some options that for applicants and homeowners that would work pretty much everywhere in the city and would be compatible with but not necessarily match most architectural styles in the city. And that's where you come in. Your participation in this program will make the program much more effective, and it'll help the city provide homeowners with an expedited, lower-cost option to permit ADUs. Getting plans pre-approved at design review means that we would end up with a better product for homeowners and applicants and a better design outcome for the city. If design review boards and commissions opt out of this program, then there would be zero architectural review for these pre-approved stock ADU plans. Here are some examples from other jurisdictions. The County of San Luis Obispo has modern and farmhouse-style units, and you can see on the floor plan on the right here, basically it would be the same floor plan in each unit with different finishes and materials. City of Atascadero has several styles on their website. You've got Coastal Ranch, Backyard Craftsman, California Modern, Beach Bungalow. Carpinteria has 2 styles with different options for finished materials per the applicant's preference. I'll be asking for your input on that kind of system and whether the city should implement a similar system to provide materials options. Again, design review board input is not required as part of this program to comply with the state law. The city could proceed with implementation without consulting design review boards at all. However, staff recognizes the added value that your input and expertise brings to the program, hence we are seeking your feedback. Your role in today's discussion is to guide staff in an advisory collaborative role to help set design parameters for these one-story detached ADUs so that they work on most sites and in most situations. You'll effectively be judges in a kind of design competition, not dissimilar to the small house competition back in 1924. Later on, when we return with a batch of proposals for you to look at in July, we'll ask you to weigh in on each individual design. You can ask questions and provide comments, and then you'll be taking a straw poll on whether you think the design is generally acceptable for use or not. You won't be formally or approving or denying the designs as part of an appealable action, since these ADUs would be ministerial and not subject to your review anyway. And as part of the pre-approval process, you won't be required to make any findings, since the ADUs won't be associated with the site with a formal application on a parcel. So when we return with a batch of proposals in July, they'll be scheduled on the agenda as design review consultations with no appealable action. We'll ask you to evaluate the design's general consistency with applicable guidelines, i.e. is this design a good version of a craftsman bungalow or a Spanish colonial revival cottage? We're looking for your opinion on whether the design would fit within most neighborhoods and with most architectural styles so that it can be pre-approved without having to return to design review as part of a project application. So as part of the straw vote to basically give the project a thumbs up or a thumbs down, you would be, So a negative straw vote, if you decide to give the thumbs down, would mean that the ADU plan does not get vetted by the design board and does not proceed in the pre-approval process. An applicant can choose to resubmit a revised design for a new design review consultation and continue with the process at a later date. An affirmative straw vote, if you give the thumbs up, means that the design can proceed to the building code review phase and get the city's pre-approval for use on the website. Our preference is to have one concept review per project. However, we also want to allow for a second concept review if the design review board thinks it would produce a successful design. The other option is that the board or commission could give staff conditions to follow up with at the building permit phase. We're doing considerable outreach to let the community know that this is coming. We ask you as design professionals to help us spread the word. So far, we've reached out to the design review boards and the AIA advocacy group. After today, we're going to be moving pretty quickly to do the rest of these outreach methods. We're going to be doing a city news and brief, land development team bulletin, a website should go live by next week. And we're also going to be reaching out to the Contractors Association to get the word out. So today we'll be asking for your answers to specific questions, which I'll show in a moment here. And after we compile all design board feedback, we'll incorporate it into the submittal materials for the open call for entries. We'll accept applications from the public starting in May, basically by next week, then return to design review with hopefully a few projects for you to review. And then once a design gets the design review thumbs up and staff have verified that it meets building code, we'll post the successful designs on the city's website. Thank you. That concludes my presentation. And before we move into questions and discussion, I'll turn it over to you, Chair Anderson, for public comment.
Thank you. Then we will open public comment.
Thank you, Chair Anderson. I will start with in-person public comment. At this time, I have no slips for this particular item. However, if you wish to make a comment, please fill one out and bring it to me. I see no one in the audience moving to do so, so I will move on to virtual comment. And at this time, I see no hands raised on virtual comment for this item, and we did not receive any written correspondence for this item, so I will turn it back over to you, Chair Anderson.
Great, thank you. Okay, we'll move to the board with questions. Can you just clarify one thing before we go into questions from the board members? You had mentioned that currently it goes to design review if it's in the front yard, but I feel like I got confused on one of your slides. So you're saying that with this bill, they don't have to go to design review if it's in the front yard? Or if that still applies?
Thanks, Chair Anderson. So currently, in order to be totally exempt from design review and proceed ministerial, accessory dwelling unit applications have to meet 11 different design criteria. And one of those criteria is that if it's in the front yard, it needs to match the existing residence exactly in the materials, finish, style, et cetera. This bill, if we do allow pre-approved ADUs to be located in the front yard, would effectively
I see.
supersede that. It would say, okay, even if your house is craftsman, like a nice craftsman bungalow, you could put this this little Spanish colonial revival style cottage in your front yard since it's been pre-approved.
Got it. Okay, thank you. Okay, let's move to questions from the board. Board Member 6, do you have any questions?
Of course.
Of course you do.
So I'm still not clear. I watched both the Single Family Design Board and the HLC, and there was quite a concern about the front yard. Are we saying that we could not put a condition on front yard ADUs and say that they cannot be part of this program? Is that allowed under this bill?
Thank you, Board Member 6. The answer, in short, is yes. If design review boards think that this bill should not apply to front yard ADUs in the city of Santa Barbara, then you can voice that and we can proceed accordingly. We did hear similar feedback from HLC and SFDB that they were less comfortable with these ADUs being pre-approved for use in the front yard.
So, so that's kind of a movement here that we probably would see limited or materialized in the rules.
That's kind of a general consensus that I'm seeing from the boards.
And how about when it's the other caveat to that is when it's visible from the street, like, looking down I heard comments looking down the driveway, or one of my own ideas is a corner lot, with the backyard being adjacent to a side or street. What about any thoughts on not allowing pre-designed, pre-packaged units in areas where it's visible from the street? Has that been considered and looked at?
Board Member 6, it has. The tricky thing is that it's a lot easier to determine from a zoning perspective what the front yard is, because there's a definition for that, than it is to determine what's publicly visible. There is general guidance in the ABR guidelines about when a project is publicly visible and kind of what that means, but it's really hard to apply that to a plan check and say,
So we
okay,
probably wouldn't get that kind of
probably not.
exemption or
Right.
exception, yeah.
And keep in mind, we have all different sizes and types and shapes of lots in town. So a rule that works on one lot, like a small lot downtown, where there's a small front yard and, an ADU in the front yard would be very prominent. If we regulate ADUs in the same way in the Hillside Design District in a large lot where the front yard is huge and there's plenty of space for an ADU, if we limit ADUs to not be located in the front yard, then that reduces the usefulness of this type of ADU.
Could you have some kind of rule that says if the yard is certain, well, that's probably process and not architecture, but, front yard could be defined as certain size, and therefore, if you have a huge hillside single residence, it could be allowed, but in the regular pattern of the grid, you couldn't allow it. It's just a suggestion, I'm sorry.
It could be related to lot size too.
Now, I don't quite have my arms around the idea of this discussion on menu items of different materials, perhaps different details and so forth. First of all, my question, you mentioned that LA Building Department has a lot of examples and this program's being successful. How do they base do they have this material options feature in their pre-approved plans? Or do you know?
Yes and no. On some of them, they have a couple different finish options. It really depends on the specific designer and what they proposed. Generally, though, the ADUs that have been already pre-approved and are on the LA Division of Building and Safety website are a specific style, meaning that their style and the materiality is set. There's no options.
Uh-huh. And have you, after your discussions with the many boards, determined which way to go? Or, these plans are gonna come back to us. And are we gonna have a chance to chime in on the structure of those plans? Oh, this is a good plan because makes sense because there's these options and so forth. Or this plan, it's a beautiful style, but it's so rigid and so forth. When we evaluate these plans that are going to come back to us, are we evaluating simply the architecture, or are we evaluating, how it's structured and how useful it would be in the process?
Your purview with respect to these would be really just the design aesthetics and trying to get something that is compatible mostly citywide. You wouldn't have a lot of, basically there wouldn't be much room to provide input on the floor plan or the...
Well, not on a floor plan, but on this idea of flexibility and options and so forth. This is a great idea to have all these options on here because it really works with the craftsman style and so forth. And let's thumbs up on that one.
From what we've heard from SFDB and HLC, it seems like those two boards would prefer more of a set design style.
Set design.
And the whole idea with this is that someone can just go on the website and pick it off the website and say, hey, I want, that ADU in my backyard, essentially. So, we considered options. We are still considering an option list like is shown on the screen here for finishes, but with the feedback we've received and the more we've thought about it, it seems like a better thing would just be to stick to a certain design style.
Okay.
So if one of these questions that I'm going to ask you as the board is whether you are on the same page with that or not.
Yeah, okay. Now, if I understand correctly, each of these packages that you bundle up and come back to the boards, plural, with, it would seem to me that those boards have varying interests and concerns, like HLC would be a historic district, so they would be very interested in seeing, this generic package have correct detailing and respect to the historic style, or just style, and single design board would be, a single-family design board would be more interested in how it sits into the hill and so forth. How, if it's going to come back to all three of us, who's, it's a long time question, what board is more important?
You're all important. I think,
Do you see my question? Is there
think
going to be
so.
a conflicting interest among the different boards?
well, you bring up a good point, Board Member 6, and with HLC, they really are going to be focused on projects in the historic districts and on properties with historic resources. So those applications are going to have to meet more stringent standards than either ABR or SFDBs in terms of just the materiality and the styles that are allowed. So I think the answer to your question depends on, I guess, your perspective on it and what what kind of project you're actually looking at. But in terms of what's most restrictive, HLC is going to have the most design restrictions based on the El Pueblo Viejo guidelines and historic resources, Secretary of Interior standards. And
Okay, I was going to put this in my comments, but maybe it's better as a question. So we get a thumbs up on the most stringent board, the HLC, but how do we create packages if all boards have to approve? How do we create packages for the Lower East Side and Lower West Side, where there's almost, it's economy and simple, and we see a lot of this, and a lot of AUDs are about these very not low income, but cost-effective plans, and the existing house is a no style and plaster and no recessed windows, and all they have to choose from is a beautiful recessed window, 3-layer plaster. Is there a hole here that might, be missed? Because I see a lot of demand, and this program would work perfectly for those lower income areas. And will the process encourage that low-income answer?
that's a great question, and I think we certainly hope so, and that's what we're looking to you all to help with, is we want to make sure that we have designs that are going to be usable by a lot of different, economic strata in the city. We want these to be really an attractive option for especially people who may not have the funds to design something themselves. Of course, the price of the plans is going to be set by the designer. It's still all through the designer, but we're hoping that they'll go along with the program and offer these at a nice price. But it depends on your feedback, and it depends on the submittals we get. Hopefully we get some plans that'll be useful in different areas of the city.
Okay, so I'll still roll my comments into a question. Do you foresee yourself going to the HLC with a plan that is tailored for a nondescript low-income property and saying, hey, HLC, you don't, this is tailored for this kind, can we get your thumbs up with the understanding that this is tailored for the lower income and not necessarily tailored for the EPV, yes.
I think we'll have to see what we get in
Okay.
terms of applications, but I also think there's an opportunity to, in these discussions, have those kinds of conversations and refer to, does this ADU need to be the most beautiful Spanish colonial revival style cottage you've ever seen, or can it just be, a simple stucco cottage with a tile roof kind of thing? I think that we're trying to get more toward the simple aesthetic here instead of the
Yeah, the common denominator.
right, exactly.
And I think that the various boards with their special interest will have to, well, that's a comment, will have to be, acknowledge that. So anyway, thank you. Very exciting project. I really appreciate you going to us to get our inputs.
Thank you.
Vice Chair Whalen, do you have any questions?
Yes, thank you, Chair Anderson. Yes, this is very challenging. I'm not sure I completely understand Mr. Hamilton Rawle. Does AB 1332 allow for local agencies to make these kind of design decisions? It does.
Yes, the law is written fairly broadly, and essentially it calls on local agencies to create a process for the pre-approval of ADUs. So this is what we are doing by coming to the board and kind of outlining this process. All we need to do is create a process, and then once that's in place, we've technically complied with state law.
That's very helpful.
But we really want to try to get at least one plan on the city's website by next year, early next year.
So a few mundane questions. In your presentation, you listed a 16-foot height limit. What does that include and exclude? Chimneys, or et cetera?
Architectural elements like chimneys are not included in the building height. Height is measured on a warped plane from the existing grade upward, from every point along the side of the elevation. So chimneys are not included. Typically, it's measured from existing grade to the roof ridge or the top of parapet.
Okay, that's very helpful. And then I believe I read in your staff memo or your presentation, again, basic questions, junior ADUs are not part of this process because they're attached to the existing, right?
That's correct. We're only talking about detached one-story ADUs that are new construction, not conversions.
And that are more than 20 feet away from the existing. If they're less than 20 feet,
well, that's a question to the boards. We're trying to figure that out, and we appreciate your input. I think
a good Dodge answer.
To remind you of that regulation, if the ADU is over 20 feet from the primary residence, then it doesn't have to match the architectural style of the primary residence. If it's within 20 feet, it does have to match. So what we'd ideally like is for a pre-approved ADU plan that can be used within 20 feet that's compatible enough with the main house, whatever that style is. And we're hoping to have enough options on the website that we can make that happen.
So if it's more than 20 feet, this proposal wouldn't apply.
If it's more than 20 feet, then somebody could still propose a pre-approved ADU.
And we are talking about custom built. There's no consideration of, say, one size fits all, a modular building from a catalog. These are all, the assumption is these are all custom.
Well, I don't think we would turn down an application from someone submitting a modular unit.
As long as it met the agreement of the board's design intent.
If it gets the thumbs up from the design review boards and passes building code, then it can be pre-approved.
Another point of minutia, the staff memo talked about buildings that were between 250 square feet and 800 square feet. What if they're less than 250 square feet? Still this.
Then they wouldn't qualify for this program.
All right. Let's see. Can you define compatible design, or is that just beyond the realm of mere planners?
What a great question.
It's really undefinable.
It really is undefinable.
Okay.
I think by their very nature, these ADUs being detached, small, one-story, that lends itself more to compatibility than something that's two-story or that's large or that you could that you're building attached to a structure. So that helps, but you know, if it's a completely different architectural style and it's in the front yard, then compatibility is a good question in that case.
Yeah, tending into comments, and you might want to define what compatible is. Let's see. I have some responses that are to your direct questions, so I guess that's it for my questions.
Board Member Noon, do you have questions?
Not that I have much more to ask than what's been asked. The intent of this is to streamline, a mechanism to streamline the design review process. This has nothing to do with the building code process. That still goes under the same scrutiny that it always has and will.
The intent is to streamline both processes. So the ultimate goal is to have a pre-approved ADU design that has been vetted for the design review portion, and that also passes building code. So the idea is that it's already been reviewed, like all the structural calcs have been reviewed. There would be some nuances that go along with certain ADUs in certain locations, like in the hillside, if a soils report's needed, that sort of thing. I actually have some colleagues from Building and Safety here who can answer questions about that if needed.
Okay. I guess so, in a sense, this is, as a building code, a minimum requirement, right, that someone can use to get through the fastest, most economical, least review process. If they want to go beyond that, they wouldn't qualify for the AB standard, but
Correct.
But it's still, that option's still there, and that's their choice.
Exactly. They could still submit a regular ADU application, and from there, they could even request a design that doesn't meet the architectural design criteria for ministerial ADU and go to design review.
Okay. Okay. That's it for now.
Board Member Soffren?
Yes. Do you have any questions that you wished any of the boards had asked?
Not that come to mind immediately, but I will let you know. Do my colleagues from Building and Safety have any questions?
I have a comment that I'll phrase as a question, just for clarity. People that are going to choose to go through this process can choose not to go and get input from the boards, all three of the boards that we are interviewing to this point. Just want to make that clear. I'm phrasing it as a question to get confirmation from Mr. Hamilton role on that. Is that for clarity?
That's correct. We're choosing to involve design review so that we have a better design outcome with these, and we want to really try to make this a positive thing for our city. So, I mean, if we didn't go through the boards, we would have to post any plans that we receive on our website. So it could be pretty much anything. So that's why we're coming to you first.
And the question that I haven't heard yet is just how does this whole process look like from beginning to end? We're very focused on the planning side and the input and aesthetics and mass and, you know, all that we get input from the boards, but how does it look when you pass that and you get into the technical requirements, right? You kind of alluded to that question on the building safety side. So the idea is to look at these for vertical analysis, so we would get that pre-approved. That's not going to change much. Assuming if you're not going to use a soils report based on size, we're still ironing that out. Say, for example, 500 square feet, you're going to use the minimum values in the building code. Then the seismic would be site-specific. Then if it's 500 square feet, we may go with USGS information. If it's larger, or we know there's bad soils, we may require a soils report. So that part would be site-specific.
Thank you, Mr. Barajas. That's Jose Barajas of Building and Safety.
So if I understand it right, the reason why we're doing this is this program's going to get set up anyways. But if the design review boards want to participate, it's an opportunity for us to ensure that we all have better options, because no matter what, there will be options that will be put out there. So
That's a
maybe
good way to
trying
sum it up, yeah.
Okay, great, thank you.
Okay, I don't have any follow-up questions, but do you want us to go through these questions as we give our comments, the ones that you sent in the memo?
That would be great. And for the board secretary, if we could just note down kind of the general consensus to each of these questions, that would be great. It doesn't need to be super detailed, but just a general, some board members felt this way, some felt the other way. That'd be helpful.
Yeah, do you want to just do it how we normally do in like a pre-app where each person gives their comments? Okay. So here are the questions that need to be addressed when you give your comments. Should the pre-approved ADU plans be a certain architectural style or styles? Do you agree with the approach of providing for several options for exterior materials? Example, customizable plan with Spanish colonial revival craftsman and contemporary finish options. Are there any exterior finishes, materials that should not be allowed in these plans? And what is your level of comfort with providing comments, straw votes to vet plans for pre-approval? And then I think you should also comment about front yard location and, yeah, that's it. Okay.
And to the chair, I think, I'm wondering what your opinion is on this, but I think it would be most helpful for the minutes if we could just do one question at a time.
Oh, okay, you'd rather do that. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so scratch that. So,
But, you know, be thinking about the rest of the questions because they do all kind of play into
Yeah.
each other, so, thank you.
okay, so let's just start with comments. So board member 6, you have comments, and then we'll go. Okay, question 1.
So, as far as the architectural styles, I think that the work that has been on the objective design standards with the Mediterranean, Craftsman, and Modern are a good place to start. And as I alluded in my questions, I think there's kind of a hole there where there's, I don't know what to call it, a non-style or an economic style. You know, a good example is the rendering that you showed in your presentation, the My Lee one, the black and white simple gable. You know, that's what I'm talking about. That's I don't see that as a particular style, but it's an economic style, let's say. So I'm concerned that we make room for a possibility of that quote-unquote style.
A direct answer to number 1, yes, certain styles should be approved.
I actually don't think, I mean, if it's in the backyard that no one can see and it's under 15 or under 16 feet, I have a hard time saying it should be a certain style. I think simpler is more cost effective. I mean, an ADU is still a single-family dwelling in a sense, and so you still have to provide the most, I guess, expensive items, which is a kitchen and a bathroom. And so I think keeping it simple, like you're rendering, like Board Member 6 mentioned, is the way to go.
I guess I would agree with that previous statement that it does not need to have a particular style.
I support particular styles.
Number 2.
And follow-up questions to the board members. Are there any styles that you think would be more suited for this program or less suited? I heard the the objective design standard
Yeah.
styles are good.
Yeah,
From board member 6, anybody else have a thought?
I would agree with that statement.
I would agree with that.
That's helpful, thanks. All right, question 2, do you agree with the approach of providing several set options for materials? And if this, another way to put this is, do you agree with the idea of having sort of a wedding cake house that's, you decorate with the, exterior finishes? So you have kind of a form, and then you have different type of roof, different type of siding, different type of window, et cetera. Or how much optionality should there be in these applications?
Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. It's kind of a to be determined. I mean, I can visualize a design application that has a very clever system of options. And, we used to do this all the time. When hand drawing, we'd cross out a box that wasn't used, and or cross out a sheet that was, this is the Craftsman shingle sheet, and this is the Craftsman, and we don't want to do that one. And all of this has been vetted by pre-vetted by the building department and works with building and safety. But somehow, if I was going to sell plans, I'd have plans that could, have these options in a very clever, not to say I'm clever, but in a way that could work beautifully, and each material option would have its own set of trim and and so forth. So I think it really is dependent on what we see as far as the package, but I think it's inherent and very internal to the quality of the product that we see. I don't think you could predetermine that, oh yes, all applicants, we need to do a menu board type thing. I think that it'd be, I would allow the option and see how creative and see how well the individual designers and applicants deal with that.
I may have missed my opportunity and to complete a thought on the first question. I would object to the use of contemporary, while I'm in favor of Spanish colonial or Mediterranean or even craftsman. Contemporary to me is too vague and indeterminate, and it implies a knowledge of the future. So I could not support that. I think Mr. Six has a good notion that there be a set of stylistic details and trim that go with each one, rather, and a part of that would be materials, of course, in the details.
I think if the architect or designer has plans that are clever enough to be able to customize the materials for a menu, as you would say, then I think that could be an option. I mean, we'll get to the next question, but I would say there's a limited amount of appropriate materials that could be used all over the city.
Trying to let you catch up.
Thank you.
I would agree with that. I think a palette of materials that's acceptable is more so to control what's not acceptable. So I think that's an appropriate approach.
I have concerns with providing options or a menu with the unit. I wonder if that would be better left to the designers who are submitting the projects for them to be creative or submit different versions of their own project, because I think that all the boards have worked hard to preserve the integrity of Santa Barbara, and going back to what this is our opportunity to, something that's already happening, have more control of it. And I think restricting customization in many ways could offer more control to this program. And so I leave it up to that designer who wants to sell more plans.
If I may, that kind of brings up an interesting idea. What prevents the designer and producer of these packages to have package A, which is shingles and Craftsman, and package B with the same plan with, Mediterranean plaster and so forth, and customize each of those so you don't have to have a menu. You just have requests from these designers, different packages for different styles.
See, I like that because, this is an expedited process. So, these are supposed to be fast options. This is not the only option applicants will have. They can choose not to take this, or maybe choose to customize, which might trigger some sort of review.
A point one, A point B,
But yeah,
A point two, A point C.
it's like a Sears catalog.
Okay, should we move on to 3? Do you have other?
Sounds good, thank you. So number 3, going along with number 2, are there any exterior finishes or materials that should not be allowed for pre-approved ADU plans? We're talking vinyl windows come up a lot, certain exterior siding, anything that you think is not appropriate for these that should not be pre-approvable?
Do you want to start us?
I'll start.
Okay.
I think I answered that question with my previous answer. I think there definitely should be limited use of certain materials, like a vinyl siding, for example.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah, I would across the board vote against vinyl windows and be very restricted on materials as well, because again, this is a expedited opportunity. So create restrictions.
Yeah, I would agree with that, except we're also trying to make it something that people would actually use. And if we're making them install expensive window systems, I don't know if I'd completely be on board with that, although I don't like vinyl, but I hear that. And then as far as exterior materials, I think it would be hard to accept metal siding of any sort throughout the city. I think there's specific locations that's acceptable, but not in general.
That occurred to me too, Chair Anderson. Aluminum siding and extensive metal paneling doesn't seem to be in character. And in the same way with my previous comment about contemporary excessive glazing, I'm thinking of a glass box. Sort of the Philip Johnson mode doesn't seem to be in character with the city, although I'm sure others on the board would disagree with me. But some excessive glazing, and I don't know quite how to phrase that more than a glass box. A question for other board members to consider is concrete block CMUs, raw CMUs might also be something that we should not allow. The construction of them would be fine, but it should have a plaster coating. But I'm getting into details there.
Yeah, I think there should be a restriction on the more zoomy metal materials identified with contemporary. The Corten, the metal siding, so forth. I think those should be frowned upon, and I disagree. I think that vinyl windows 10 feet away, you can't tell the difference. So I think that as I've talked about the economic plan, I think these have a big market for the lower income.
I would agree with that comment on vinyl windows. They seem to be perfectly acceptable.
Any follow-up on that? No, okay. Let's go to the next question.
Okay, the next and final question. I just kind of want to take your temperature on this. So what is your level of comfort with providing comments or straw votes to vet plans for pre-approval? And keep in mind, you won't be actually approving these plans with the findings that you're used to. This would be a simple yes or no vote. We're trying to get this done in one concept hearing, but if there's a second concept needed, like if we're hearing that you want more information from applicants, then we can schedule another concept hearing in kind of a tight timeline, but.
So are we going to review all of the applications or just the one that you guys are hoping to put on the website?
Just the ones that pertain to ABR, that are under ABR purview, and that staff have kind of pre-vetted. So we'll, when we get the applications, we'll also be looking for things like glass boxes and, things that just don't meet the criteria of the program.
Right, okay. I'd be fine providing comments in the vote.
Yes, yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
It's very hard for me to say yes or no without, but yes.
I think you would be able to provide comments. I think you'd be very.
There's one thing that you just said that I misunderstood, that we would only be reviewing those plans applicable to the ABR, so there's going to be separate HLC plans and separate ABR plans and separate final. So,
That's correct. Applicants can
Okay.
choose which boards to submit their plans to. So if they only want to submit to SFDB for projects that are under SFDB purview, they could.
Okay, so it's.
But if they want a plan that's usable citywide, then they would have to submit plans to each board for a concept review. Yeah.
So you'll have a library of ABR plans, ABR and HLC plans?
Basically,
HLC.
plans
We
that
hope
are
so,
allowed in
yeah.
those zoning.
Okay,
Okay.
very good.
Yeah, plans that are allowed
Interesting.
in those, where those review boards apply.
Okay, thanks.
Any follow-up comments?
Sure, I think this is highly supportable. Anything that speeds the process, simplifies it for the planning department, the building department, I think you're on the right track here. So my straw vote would be yes on the concept.
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
All right, that's all I had. We'll be back in July. Thanks very much.
All right, thank you. All right, let's move on to item number 2, 217 South Milpas Street. Continued item for project design approval and final approval. Proposal to construct a 2-story duplex over a new 6-car carport and convert the existing 4-car garage into an ADU. The project is providing 1 replacement housing unit for approved hotel at 302 West Montecito Street. Project receives staff hearing approval of the CDP on February 21st of this year. Project design approval and final approval are requested. Project requires compliance with the project compatibility findings, urban design guidelines, and the staff hearing officer resolution. project was last reviewed on January 8th, 2024. Do we have any comments from staff on the staff hearing officer?
Before you begin, Chair Anderson, I need a 3-minute break.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, of course. Take a break. Okay, all right, so back to item number 2. Did we have any comments from staff on the staff hearing officer or anything?
No, just that it's ready for project design approval and final now that the staff hearing officer has approved the CDP,
Okay.
and I have the minutes from the last meeting available for your
Oh, great,
review.
thank you. That would be helpful. Okay, great. If you could introduce yourself and then walk us through any changes and then how you addressed the comments, that would be helpful.
Hello, my name is Lonnie Roy. I'm the agent for the property owner. So I will just go through the comments first, and then I will go over any other changes that happened. So comment number 2, looking at setting alternative railing design for the duplex. The prior proposal was essentially like a fence board railing, so it was relatively solid. So we have switched to a picket railing. So on the front single family, that's what's illustrated there. And then let me go to the duplex. That is what's illustrated on there and there. And then along the front at the Juliet's. And then I will go to the detail. Then number 3, applicant shall provide sizes of landscaping plants and selected plants and trunk height on the palms. The prior plans, they just listed a menu of plants for certain symbols. So specific plant species, specific sizes, brown trunk heights specified on the plants. Something that wasn't captured in the comments but was a discussion item was originally there were some ground cover and screening species in this area beyond the duplex. And there was a discussion that those plants actually surviving there might not have actually been the case. So to switch that to gravel, so that change did happen there. We already had kind of gravel in this side yard area. Number 4, looked at extending a kind of little porch element or eave element at the ADU entry, which is over here. So you can see that extension of this pop out, that roof line over here to create that kind of little porch element on the ADU. Number 5, the applicant shall come back with pictures of the fence material along the north property line. The origin of that question was that on the north property line, we were calling out an existing chain link fence to remain, and the board did not feel that that was appropriate for the project. So that has been switched out to be replaced with a 6-foot-high wood fence. So that specification there, here. Detail here. The applicant shall provide notes for the plans for improvements to the existing single-family home, especially the stairs and skirt. So we have added notes and some detailed references to the new porch railings, stairs. One change that did happen was the prior proposal, instead of this vertical board skirt, it was a cementitious proposal, so that was a material change from the prior proposal. We did add some trim pieces as well that were different from the prior proposal. And then if you look at the elevations and the plans, the correct north, south, east, west were noted, because before literally every building had a different notation. So some other changes that I want to point out. In the street frontage, we previously had kind of a monolithic sidewalk where that driveway was removed, and a little remaining parkway here. The conditions of approval from staff hearing changed that to requesting a parkway strip. So a parkway strip's now noted there. On the ADU, the windows at the ends were changed to casements instead of sliders. They were sliders because that's what the existing single-family home had been replaced to at some point. But for egress and for consistency with kind of the window dimensions, we thought it was better to keep the dimensions of the window and change those to casements for egress rather than making them larger windows. We like how the proportions kind of stayed the same throughout. And that was really the extent of the changes. So I think that covers it if you have any questions.
Do you want to just run us through your material board and light fixture spec?
Yeah. So everything is changed to a consistent color palette, which is this green for the body, this kind of cream for the trim. We have this accent, kind of red for the windows, kind of an autumny blend for the comp shingles, and then let's say a relatively simple kind of craftsman-y light fixture at all the doors. And then we do have a kind of path light. That's just a relatively simple path light, and that's just guiding kind of the pedestrian walkway in the driveway.
Great, thank you. Okay, we will open up public comment.
Thank you, Chair Anderson. I'll start with in-person public comment. At this time, I do not have any slips for this particular item. However, if anyone wishes to make a comment, please fill one out and bring it to me. I do not see anyone moving in the audience to do so, so I will move on to virtual comment. I see no hands raised on virtual comment, and we did not receive any written correspondence for this item. So at that, I'll turn it back over to you, Chair Anderson.
Great, we will close public comment and go to questions from the board. Board Member Sofferin, do you have any questions?
No questions.
Board Member Noon?
No, thank you.
Vice Chair Whalen?
None.
Board Member Six?
Yes, the newly required parkway strip, do you have that adequately landscaped on your landscape plan?
Yeah, believe it's just a ground cover consistent with some of the pre-approved ground cover materials.
Okay, so it's landscaped.
Yeah, so it's just a
Oh,
silver
right.
carpet just so it's walkable.
And then do you have a indication that the glass in the light fixture is to be semi-obscure, so it's frosted or at least 50%, so it's not glary?
Don't believe it's frosted. Well, I guess it seems like it's a little bit frosted. Yeah, the light source comes from the top here.
Oh, so the light source is down?
Yeah, so it aims down, so it's dark sky compliant.
Okay, thanks.
And then what's the color of all your downspouts and gutters? What will that be matching?
It would either be the trim color where it comes down. Otherwise, a lot of the time what the owner will do is just pick like a dark bronze.
Okay. And then can you just locate the backflow device for the irrigation and show if it's planted around it?
Yeah, so there's 2 locations. Most of them are here where all the new meters are, and then there's the one existing, so one backflow there, one backflow, or handful of backflows there, and I believe it's Coast Rosemary.
Okay. Okay. Any follow-up questions? All right, let's go to comments, and they're here for PDA and final. Board Member Six?
Yeah, it's ready for both.
Okay, Vice Chair Whalen?
Yes, I can support that, and I want to compliment the architects and the clients, if you will, the proponents, because I think this is a much better project than when it first started out, and it mostly comes from the site redesign. I think that came from Mr. Noon, which I think the process has really proved worthwhile in this case, and so all parties are to be commended.
Board Member Noon?
No, thank you. I think it's ready as well.
Okay. Board
No
Member
comments.
Sofferin? Okay. I don't have any comments. I think it definitely looks more cohesive and would mimic what Vice Chair Whalen said. Would you like to make a motion?
Sure. Do we need compatibility findings too?
Yes, you can see
All
them on
right,
the
then.
screen.
I will make a motion for project design approval and final approval with the following compatibility findings: that it is consistent with our design guidelines, it's compatible with the architectural character of that neighborhood, it's appropriate in its size, mass, bulk, height, and scale. It's non-applicable to sensitive landmarks. There are no public views of the ocean or mountains that are obscured, and there is an appropriate use of open space and landscaping.
Second.
Okay, we will take a vote. Chair Anderson?
Yes.
Vice Chair Whalen?
Yes.
Board Member Noon?
Yes?
Board Member Six?
Yes.
Board Member Sofferin?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you so much.
There is a appeal process, and it's on the screen for 10 days. Thanks.
Go forth and be fruitful.
Okay. We will move on to item 3, 350 Hitchcock Way. This is a continued item for project design approval and final approval. It's a proposal for exterior facade renovations to the existing Lexus dealership and permit as-built vehicle swing gates. Project requires compliance with the project compatibility findings, Upper State Street design guidelines, and urban design guidelines. It was last reviewed on October 30th of 2023.
The photos are open here.
Yeah, so just wait down there and you can see the photos. You can click those open if you need them.
Welcome back. If you would like to introduce yourselves, you'll have 15 minutes to, actually, can we pull up the minutes from the last meeting?
Yes.
Once we review those, you'll have 15 minutes to do your presentation for us.
Here they are on the screen. This is from when they were here for concept review on October 30th, 2023.
Okay. Great. Well, welcome back and introduce yourselves, and you have 15 minutes.
I'm Nina Ray with RSI Group, the applicant for the project. Oh, sorry. There you go. I'm Nina Ray with RSI Group, the applicant for the project.
And my name is Julian Arango. I'm with Gory Architects.
So you want to start with the design that we had from where we had comments about lowering the towers and stuff in the signage.
Correct. So the comment that we've received was that the tower would be lowered 30 feet and the sign, the Lexus logo, to be underneath the roof line. Where's the updated one? And so what we did was we lowered it, and you see there where we lowered the Lexus logo to be underneath the roof line. You can see it here, front view. And instead of being in an angle, which was the design before, now is...
Just froze.
And then the actual wall, the blade wall is what Lexus calls it, now is just perpendicular to the front of the building.
And the color materials compatibility with the surrounding.
Correct.
If you can walk us through.
So there were some comments about trying to maintain compatibility with the other dealerships. So that's what we had tried to do, is try to maintain the architecture to make sure that it's more in line with what we have in that circle where the other dealerships are.
Okay, can you walk us through what materials are where and what changed from last time then?
Let me go back to the front image again. Last time, the wall here had a stone look. That was changed to a brown look. And these are ACM panels. This one's a champagne color. That's the whole front facade above the glass. And it's only at the front of the glass. The remainder of the building is remaining how it is, same color. And then the wall is this brown or bronze color. Also, the Lexus logo, it was a chrome color before too. Where did it go now? The color of the sign actually also changed because now the wall is brown.
We know signage would come separate with the sign committee review, but just for perspective of the design, we're just discussing those on what the signage was done based on the comments received.
And is there any change to the plans or glass configuration that we should be aware of?
From the original design to this one, no, but we are changing some of the glass. We're adding a little bit of spandrel glass above it.
Can you point out where you're talking about?
The top row of glass here, it's new spandrel glass that's gonna match the existing color of the glass.
Okay.
Because the actual piece of wall here above, it's getting smaller to what it currently is. And I'll show you going to what's existing. The existing one is bigger here, and so we're making this thinner and then giving it a glass look from the outside, but it's just spandrel glass.
Okay. Do you have any details or sections you could show us of the fascia or anything? Like construction details?
Not as part of this set right now.
Okay.
We don't.
Okay.
What information did you need for it?
Well, we'll get into
Oh.
questions. I just want to make
Okay.
sure you're showing us everything that you have. Okay, is that your presentation?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Okay, thanks. Then we will open up public comment.
Thank you, Chair Anderson. I will start with in-person public comment. At this time, I do not have any slips for this particular item, so I will move on to virtual comment, and I see no hands raised under virtual comment, and we did not receive any written correspondence for this item, so at that, I will turn it back over to you, Chair Anderson.
Okay, we will close public comment and go to questions from the board. Vice Chair Whalen, would you like to start?
No comments, Chair
No
Anderson.
questions? Okay. Vice Chair,
No,
or,
sorry, no questions.
okay. Board Member 6?
Yeah, do you have, our comments last time were concerned with the level of reflectiveness of the metal panels. Do you have some real samples?
Yes.
So while people are reviewing that, the rendering shows, the old rendering, the front rendering shows a ground sign. Are you going to have both the ground sign and the logo on the gray wall? On the
City TV, please zoom in on the glass on the table, please. Okay.
To answer your question, right now the intent is yes. The one at the front, the one you see here at the front is existing. What we're adding is this one wall here.
Okay, thank you.
Board Member Noon, do you have any questions?
No, thanks.
Board Member Sofrin?
No.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
The existing ground, a ground sign is the same material as the new fin wall, or it looks dark
It's a
here?
similar material, correct.
So it's a metal,
It is a metal.
similar, close,
It's a similar color, different material. I think the one at the front is a sheet metal. That one's aluminum.
okay, so have
But
the
it's going to
same,
give you the same look.
same sheen, yeah, okay, thanks.
Do you have any landscape proposed for the front, or are we keeping the existing?
Right now, all the existing is just during construction, stuff's going to happen to whatever's along the front, but it will be protected, and if anything gets damaged, is dead, it'll be replaced to match the existing.
Okay. Okay, Let's go into comments. They're here for project design approval and final approval. Board Member 6, would you like to start?
Yeah, I think this is ready for both. I didn't get a chance to review in depth the working drawings to see if all the final,
I don't think they had any,
they don't have any,
so
don't we?
I would support
need-
PDA, but not final.
Yeah, that would be my issue. If there's not adequate details to cover final, I would postpone that until there
I
is.
just have a question for staff, because typically they have to fill out a sheet referencing all the details, so.
Yeah, occasionally we will agendize them for both at our discretion if we think the board would be willing to grant them, but in this case, it's fine if it's not ready for final approval. You can just grant PDA and then continue it for final approval.
We had full construction documents that we could have provided if we were told that we could have shared those, so we could have had all the approvals right now rather than having to come back later.
I apologize for that miscommunication. If the board is willing, they can continue you to final on consent, but that can be discussed in comments.
So typically, when we give final, we like to see any construction details that coordinate with all the exterior materials and how they're fastened, and your light fixture, cut sheet. And so that's what we typically look at final. So it's going to be hard for us to give you final today, but we can give you project design approval and move you to final on consent if the board's okay with that, and to a date certain of next week if possible, so.
So I have a question for staff. Will we still have to wait to get our final approval before going into our building construction submittal?
Yes, you need final before you can submit to building and safety.
I wish it was communicated so we could have, we have had full construction documents for a while, so.
Can you describe the light fixtures on the outside and point to me where they are, point to us where they're located?
Well, along the front, we're not doing any lights along the front.
Okay, but in the service area, are those new light fixtures?
No, they're existing
They're
light fixtures.
Okay,
Yeah.
and the exterior paneling, how are we fastening these aluminum panels?
It's a pre-manufactured method of the ACM panels. It's a standard.
So it's like a clip system?
Yeah, it's a clip system and it's screwed on.
Rain
But
screen,
it's
okay.
a system. It's not something that is actually detailed by us. The architect is from an actual manufacturer.
And the new spandrel glass is in line with the existing glass?
Correct.
Okay, how do you feel? How do you guys feel?
Chair Anderson,
Yeah.
is there a mechanism here of a review after final, just to check up on things, give them final and have them come back on consent and just check over the details, or is that?
I don't think that's
we
how
can
it
ask
works,
them to.
but
Huh?
I think we can ask them to, but they don't have to.
they don't have to come back, yeah. What other details would we want to see? Can you just go to your floor plan real quick, please? Just to. The glass system is existing, or you're replacing the entire thing?
No, the glass system is existing, the bottom portion, what's there right now. All we're doing is the fascia that's above that glass, we're moving it up, and then we're adding spandrel.
You're infilling.
Line, yeah. So the actual structure and everything that's back there is remaining as is.
And how are you constructing the new fin? The new, what are they calling that? The fin, the blade, sorry.
There will be a couple of columns added. Steel columns will be added here yeah.
I don't know. I guess I'm fine with that. I just think typically we see construction details for final, but if you're not adding light fixtures and we have the materials, I don't know, how do you guys feel for from the
I do
board.
have one question, just understanding the process. When we submit for the building review, that would be reviewed at that point as well, wouldn't it?
It goes to
Or-
building.
Yeah, the building
But
would
not to
review
them.
it. We
But
wouldn't
not
see it
to you.
again,
You would
yeah.
also want to see just the actual, the structural drawings, the actual attachment.
Only if it's related to the exterior aesthetic that our purview is, so.
Correct.
Yeah, but most of the lightings that's existing, the glass is staying. It's only the panel, and there's no detailing. It's all custom by what the manufacturer's providing.
Correct.
So there is not really any
Okay.
structural details or anything like that,
Okay.
Yeah, the only
Also-
structural thing we are doing is that wall.
The blade, yeah.
Can I ask a staff question?
Yeah.
If the board was comfortable with issuing a final, is there some sort of condition we can issue to like staff being able to review this? And that way we can issue this,
Yeah,
but
we can
that's
do that,
For staff to review the
the
details.
The details.
just to make sure they have them.
Yeah, that they're matching what they're showing. That can be a condition of
Yeah.
final approval, yes.
That generates one question I have. The spandrel, so you're raising the head of the glass to fit the spandrel?
No, what we're adding are U channels on top is basically going to be spandrel that is fascia to the wall. So it's not like what's there right now is a storefront system.
Right, so the storefront
Yeah.
stops at a current height.
Yeah, and then
You're
we're,
gonna increase the height with spandrel. What's the frame?
the frame are just U channels at the top and the bottom. They look from the outside the same, but it's not the same thickness storefront. So it's going to be actually, how do I explain it? It's like a shower door, just with U channels on the wall, like it's fascia. But it's not going to be the same storefront mullions that you typically see. So that's not getting pushed up. It's just something added at top that makes it look like it's glass.
But from the outside, excuse me, you're saying that the frame system is going to look identical to the storefront?
Correct, in the thicknesses. But if you were to look at it in profile, it would be the storefront mullion would stop and it would just be glass there, and that's it. That's what you will see in a section.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so let's just do a quick straw vote on who thinks this is ready for both PDA and final today with conditions. Please.
Chair Anderson,
Yes.
Vice Chair Whalen,
I'll abstain.
Board Member Noon,
Yes.
Board Member Six,
Yes.
Board Member Sovereign,
Yes.
motion passes. Or straw passes.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so,
Thanks so much.
then we still have to make a motion with your conditions. All right, so I'll move for project design approval and final approval with the following, conditions. That the applicant provided detail for the spandrel glass connection, so staff will need to confirm that they have these. A section through the blade wall. The SRI, the solar reflectance index for these panels should be on the plans.
Okay.
And the attachment for, a section detail attachment of these panels. Anything else?
We will have to make the project compatibility findings. We are working to get the staff computer to mirror on the TV.
Okay.
If
Can
you
I-
would give us 1 moment for that.
Can I add the necessary details to have detail at the very top parapet? Where the panels die into the parapet, at both the typical parapet and the new fin wall. Detail at the lower corner where the fascia turns under and becomes soffit. And a detail at the very base of the new fin wall as it connects to the ground.
The Does that make sense?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
okay.
We have all those in those
I'm
drawings,
sure
so-
you do, yeah.
I'll second and have another point of discussion. Since the landscaping will be affected, do we want to note anything that it should be replaced, repaired in kind? No?
No, I
Okay.
don't think so.
Before you second the motion, can you please
Yeah.
add in the project
Yeah.
compatibility findings? Thanks.
Okay, so, number one, this project is consistent with the design guidelines. It is compatible with the architectural character of the neighborhood. It is appropriate in size, mass, bulk, height, and scale. There are no adjacent landmarks or historic resources. There are no public views of the ocean or mountains affected, and there is appropriate use of open space and landscaping.
So I can still second that?
Yeah. Okay, great.
Okay, we will take a vote. Chair Anderson,
Yes.
Vice Chair Whalen,
No.
Board Member Noon,
Yes.
Board Member Six,
Yes.
Board Member Sovereign,
Yes.
motion passes.
And there is a 10-day appeal period.
Thank you.
Would you like to give your reason for no?
Sure, I'd be happy to. I appreciate the proponents' responsiveness to our comments, but I cannot find compatibility with the neighborhood or with the, as I made in my original comments, to reflect any of the special qualities of Santa Barbara.
Thank you. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Can we move on to the last item? Everyone good? Okay, number 4, new item for project design approval, 1308 Cacique Street. Proposal for a new 1,117 square foot, 2-story second residential unit and new 2-car carport. The 6,745 square foot lot is developed with a 901 square foot, 1-story primary unit and a 625 square foot detached ADU. Project design approval is requested, requires compliance with project compatibility findings and urban design guidelines. So welcome. If you want to introduce yourself and walk us through your plans.
Hey, good afternoon. My name is Tom Oxner. Let me get that. Is this on? Yeah. Good afternoon. My name is Tom Oxner, project architect. This is a 2-story second residential unit, total just under 1,200 square feet, located on the east side here on Cacique and Canada. The existing lot consists of a small, I'm going to move, here we go. The existing house lot consists of a small house in the front, and there's a garage in back that's recently been permitted as an ADU. The space between, we're proposing a second residential unit, 2 stories. The neighborhood is, it's zoned RM. There is a fair amount of multi-residential in the neighborhood. Although specifically right around this parcel, there's not a lot of 2 stories at this time. The structure is set in the middle of the lot, and it's a modest building that matches the basic design style of the neighborhood. Let's see, this is the civil plan, but it works well as a site plan as well. So the idea, this would be the existing garage that's been permitted as an ADU. This is the footprint of the 2-story second residential unit, which would include a little shed carport off to the side of it. And the stormwater is handled with permeable pavers in this way here, would maintain the driveway that runs down the northeast side. And this is the existing residence. And we've got the front yard, and this would be down here would be where Canada would cross with Cacique. And these are the open yards. This is the parking configuration. Let's see here. The floor plan consists of 2 bedrooms upstairs with 2 bathrooms, and the stairway located off the driveway side. We've got a 9-foot plate proposed on the first floor and a 9-foot on the second floor, with the ability to gesture down as we get to the elevations for a little bit of breakup for the roof massing. These are the elevations. This would be the side that would be facing Cacique, but behind the existing residence. So there's the carport. We're proposing exterior plaster, metal clad windows, exposed rafter, 2x rafter tails like are predominant in the neighborhood, asphalt shingle as is predominant in the neighborhood, and very simple building. And you can see we've got clad windows, and let's see here. I think that's about it. I'm ready to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. We will open up public comment.
Thank you, Vice Chair Anderson. I will start with Chair Anderson. I will start with in-person public comment. At this time, I have no slips. If anyone wishes to make a comment, please fill one out, but we have no one in the audience, so I'll move on to virtual comment. We do not have any hands raised for virtual comment, and we did not receive written correspondence. So at that, I'll turn it back over to you, Chair Anderson.
Okay, thank you. We'll close public comment and go to questions from the board. Board Member Soffren, do you have any questions?
No questions.
Board Member Noon?
We usually see maybe an exhibit of how this affects, or how the position, since it's two-story, how windows and things like that affect or overlook adjacent properties. Do you have anything that, I didn't see anything in your package that, typically there would be, maybe in an elevation, there would be an outline of an adjacent building section.
Yes, that's a good question. We've played that sensitivity up here a bit with just small venting windows on, this is the property, or the side of the building which faces the sensitive neighbor. So we've just got small venting windows on either side of the bed and a small bathroom window against that side. In terms of the elevation, we can see it would be this one up, is that right? No, here we go, we're right here. So these are the two venting windows on either side of the bed, and then there is the bathroom window.
Good. And the relation to that, to those windows, that wall to the property line, and then an adjacent property?
So let's see here. Yeah, so the neighboring, so it would, if I could zoom in on that, let's see.
You can hit the plus sign at the top.
So the structure would go right in this position here. The house adjacent to it is pulled forward, lateral to the existing residence. That is the best illustration that I have.
In the site plan, again, I didn't
Let's
remember
see
if it
we
showed
have-
adjacent properties.
Let's take a look.
No.
We've
Yeah,
got
yeah,
the
a little bit.
adjacent property, yes. Right here is the footprint of that adjacent property. And then on the other side, it's back here.
Okay. That's it.
Vice Chair Whalen?
No questions?
Board Member Six?
No questions.
Okay, I have a couple questions. Do you have, what's the distance between the existing residence and then this new one?
The distance, approximately 25 feet. Let me zoom in on this right here. So let's see here.
Yeah, roughly.
That's 22, and then there, 25.
And then while we're here, the carport covers both or just one car?
The carport covers both.
And that's required?
For a second yeah, it's not an ADU, so a second residential unit, I believe,
to have two
still
covered.
needs to meet the parking, yes.
And do you have like an overall elevation of the property showing the height of the existing single family, single story versus the two-story?
I do not.
Okay. Next question in the section, the building section, because you said the plate height's 9 feet on both floors. Are you vaulting the second floor?
Yes.
Okay.
And, yeah, take a look at the elevations, and then we kind of see that shows it a little better there.
Okay. And then is there any landscape proposed?
We don't have landscape proposed at this time. And let's take a look at the site plan here. What's left of it? So this is, the green areas would be opportunities.
Okay. Okay, those are my questions. Any follow-up
Chair-
questions?
Yes. Chair Anderson, thank you. Could you explain your orientation of the new proposed entry? So you're walking around the entry to the back. Is that because it's better oriented to the backyard?
Good question, yes. The answer to that would be that with the ADU here, primary access is here. So with the parking, it was thought to be nice to provide a private entry off of the opposite side. So that would be right here. And so if the parking were at this location, the ADU would have this gate to enter, and then this unit would be heading in a different direction.
So where your hand is now is actually the prime entry for this new unit?
That would be the prime entry, yes.
Down there?
Yes, down there. Down through here.
Huh. So why is the other entry so embellished with a indent and so forth, as opposed to the primary entry that you can I explain this?
On the east elevation versus the south?
Yes. So that east elevation certainly looks like the prime entry, whereas the south elevation, without a recess or...
You know what, that's a good point here. Oh, I'm sorry. That's my mistake. We did change that. When we added the parking, we moved the entry. The parking was a late thing, so yes, so then we combined the entry off of this way, rather than having it have its own entry, which we started with, so that was my mistake. So both the ADU and the second residential unit now share a combined entry path.
Okay. And you didn't like it the other way, where wouldn't the people in the new unit want to take a shortcut down to the south entry?
They could.
Okay.
Let's see.
It's not architectural.
So this path here as a possibility?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's, I would probably, if I parked here, I'd probably use that quite frequently, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And why, it seems to me there's an opportunity for more landscaping on the north side of this, where it seems like an over-generous, hefty parking structure, a bike parking structure on the north, and it seems to be there's some opportunity for landscaping if that was shrunk and like in the front of that street side of that bike parking, and why is the bike parking located there, and wouldn't that be a perfect place for more landscaping?
Right in this area?
Right there, and why the size of and the orientation of the bike parking takes so much of precious, a good place to put landscaping.
That is a good suggestion. Let me take a look at the civil real quick here. I think the landscaping would be compatible with their design.
So if you could find a better place or more efficient way to park the biking, you could replace or gather more landscape along that north elevation.
And enhance the entry for both units
Yes.
that way.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
Can I ask a follow-up question now? Where's the trash gonna go?
Let's see here. Did they let us get this far without a trash location? Let's see. Could be a first. Let's see, where is our trash? That's a very good question. I'll have to account for that.
Okay, any other questions? Move on to comments. Board Member Southall?
Sure. Yeah, my comment would just be, I think the plate heights are too high. I'd like to see you lower the plates because I think that the structure, looking at the vicinity photographs, kind of tower above. So that would be my comment, would be lower the plates. And maybe maybe where that bike storage is would be a appropriate shared location for trash for the rental units.
Okay, Board Member Noon?
So although I agree with Board Member Six's comment about more landscaping, my concern would be that if you did move it, you would take up maybe other precious landscaping. So I do want to support that comment. I guess that doesn't give you much direction as far as a comment goes, so.
I'll study that. I think
Yeah,
I can
yeah.
handle that.
All right, thanks.
Okay, Vice Chair Whalen?
I think this is a very workmanlike and appropriate solution for this neighborhood, agreeably in character.
Board Member Six?
Yeah, I agree with that, with the exception of finding more refined design and consideration between trash location, bike parking, and possible landscaping.
Yeah, and my comment would be, I think the second story plate height should definitely be reduced to 8 since you're vaulting the ceiling. I think that would just help with the scale on the property. And then I agree with the comments about the landscaping, and I think we've addressed the privacy on the adjacent property. And yeah, I would be in support of PDA with those comments, and then coming back for final with your material board and light fixture and details.
Chair
and
Anderson, can I
landscaping.
make a quick comment? I see that there is a note for the proposed trash enclosure if you zoom in on the north elevation. And I did confirm it was reviewed and deemed complete by Environmental Services, who reviews the location of trash enclosures. Yeah, it's pointing to that blank space on the wall, that note, if you were to zoom in all the way, it says proposed trash
See
enclosure
plans.
So it
location.
needs to be developed.
It says C plans, so it's next to your bike parking, which is also your entrance. That's not, that's the entrance. You're saying it's right there.
It was right below a light fixture.
No, this is the entrance.
There's that one,
Yeah.
Right in there.
Well, let's update the plans to include all that information so that we
Well, the site plan
see
could be
it.
more clear, so.
Yeah.
Those are good comments. I can address those.
Okay. Oh, you want to make a motion? I see you moving.
No,
Oh.
I was going to amend your motion.
Oh, was that a motion? Okay, we'll take that as a motion. Does that work? Did you get
I'll
that?
make a
No?
motion. I'll make a motion for project design approval for the project to come back for final and full board to resolve the following issues, to refine the trash location and bike parking design to be complete, and to find opportunities for landscaping. And I think this requires a full landscape plan at final, and to reduce the plate heights on the vaulted second floor to 8, and to verify with photos or other evidence that the neighbor to the south's privacy is guarded.
Second.
Can you please include the project compatibility findings on the screen? Thank you.
And that we can find compatibility findings, that it is consistent with the city's guidelines. It is compatible with the architectural character of the city and the neighborhood which it resides. Number 3, it is appropriate in size, mass, bulk, height, and scale. There are no sensitivities to adjacent landmarks or historic resources. There are no public views of ocean or mountains affected. And there is reserved for good open space and landscaping.
Second.
Okay, we'll take a vote. Chair Anderson,
Yes.
Vice Chair Whalen,
Yes.
Board Member Noon,
Yes.
Board Member Six,
Yes.
Board Member Sovereign,
Yes.
motion passes.
Great.
Thanks for your
Thanks. There's a 10-day appeal period, and the process is on the screen. And we will conclude our meeting for April 29th, 2024.